8 years ago, City S faced a catastrophic monster wave outbreak. This was the greatest disaster that plunged the entire nation into an apocalyptic state. Among the chaos, one name echoed through the ruins: Luo Jian. He bore the title of the weakest Starfall warrior reserve, and his life was overshadowed by a heavy burden. He was the son of Zuo Wei, a man convicted of treason. Despite his father's countless contributions and sacrifices for the country, society labeled him a traitor. As the son of a condemned man, Luo Jian faced relentless discrimination. He was expelled from his school, as they refused to teach the son of a traitor. Struggling to find a job, he faced rejection at every corner. Even blood donation centers denied him, claiming the blood of the traitor's son would be a liability. Yet, Luo Jian could not reconcile how someone who risked everything for the country could be branded a traitor. In his desperation, he turned to mercenary work, skipping ranks and accepting dangerous missions well beyond his capabilities. Despite warnings from seasoned mercenaries about the perils of F-rank monster dens, Luo Jian had no choice but to continue. Though he was deemed cannon fodder, Luo Jian resolved to survive. His determination burned fiercely. I am indeed cannon fodder, he thought, but I am not here to die. With this resolve, he ventured into the dens of monsters, using his wits and courage to fight his way through impossible odds. In his heart, Luo Jian knew, as cannon fodder, he had his own path to survival, a path that would one day prove them all wrong. In the midst of chaos, a terrifying scene unfolds. A monstrous, gaping maw looms menacingly, exuding an overwhelming aura of despair. The atmosphere is thick with fear, and the creatures surrounding them echo guttural growls, their sharp claws glinting ominously in the dim light. Even in the most hopeless situations, the question lingers: are we going to die? The air is tense, with danger encroaching from every corner. A momentary silence descends, broken only by the eerie sounds of the beasts moving closer. As the shadow of death looms over the protagonists, a spark of defiance ignites. No! A voice rings out, piercing the despair. Despite the overwhelming odds, a determination unlike any other takes root. Even in the face of certain death, the resolve to fight burns brighter than the surrounding darkness. The battle for survival has only just begun. As the monsters close in, the protagonist clenches their fists, their body trembling not with fear, but with unyielding determination. I will still, the words come out through gritted teeth, filled with raw resolve, make it out alive. Their vision sharpens, focusing only on one goal: survival. The odds may be stacked against them, but the fire in their heart burns brighter than ever. The sound of growls and screeches from the surrounding creatures only fuels their resolve. Survive, so I can find out the truth and clear my family name. They declare to no one but themselves, a promise echoing in the face of the apocalyptic wasteland. Their past may be clouded by lies and betrayal, but their future holds the hope of redemption. The title flashes brightly, like a beacon amidst the darkness: rise from the rubble. Standing tall, weapon in hand, they are ready to face the challenges ahead. A lone figure, unyielding against the tide of destruction, whispers under their breath, The scene transitions to a grim setting: City Z prison. Inside the cold, oppressive walls of confinement, the protagonist confronts someone who holds the key to their past. Dad, I'm 18 now. I'm an adult. The words come with a mix of defiance and urgency. You said that you would tell me the truth once I came of age. Their voice trembles slightly but grows stronger. The monster wave that caused the fall of City Z 5 years ago, it's time to tell me the truth. The weight of the question hangs heavy in the air. For years, they had waited for this moment, and now they demand the answers that have been kept from them for so long. Looking at the older man, they declare with unwavering conviction: Dad, I want to clear your name. The father, Zuo Wei, lowers his gaze, his hands clenching tightly as the weight of his story presses down on him. 8 years ago, he begins, his voice tinged with bitterness and regret. City S faced a monster wave outbreak, the greatest disaster in all of China's history. The memories of fire and chaos flash vividly in his mind. Buildings crumbled, screams echoed in the streets, and monsters ravaged everything in their path. Amidst the carnage, Zuo Wei stood as a survivor, the only one who lived. After the investigation, He continues, it was discovered that I had left City S during the outbreak, abandoning my duty. A heinous crime. The word burns on his tongue as he recalls the judgment, conviction, treason. Despite his years of loyal service to the country, his so-called betrayal led to a harsh punishment, a 10-year stay of execution. The protagonist listens in silence, their fists trembling with a mixture of anger and frustration. Speaking of, their voice cracks slightly. I've been carrying the bad name of a traitor's son for 8 years. The scars of those years weigh heavily on their shoulders. Expelled from my school, ridiculed when trying to find a job, even shamed when I tried to donate blood. Every attempt to move forward was met with hostility. Our school will not be responsible for teaching the son of a traitor. One voice from the past taunts in their memory. The blood of the traitor's son. What liability would we have to take for that? The protagonist's resolve solidifies further. I've lived with this shame long enough, but now it's time to uncover the truth and clear your name, Dad. The protagonist clenches their fists, their resolve unwavering. I've only been able to hold on this long because of my faith, to clear the injustice done to my father. The father, Zuo Wei, looks at his child with a mixture of pain and resignation. Zuo Fan, he says, his voice heavy with years of sorrow, there's not much to say about what happened back then. He pauses, as if gathering the strength to continue. It's been judged quite clearly. I've already pleaded guilty. You can go. His words strike like a hammer, each one filled with resignation. Leave City Z. Change your name, change your identity, so you can have a better life. But Zuo Fan doesn't move. The father's next words cut deeper. Just pretend that you don't have a father like me. It's not easy to be the son of someone who betrayed their country. Zuo Fan's voice rises in protest, filled with disbelief. Dad, you're not that type of person. Their conviction is unshakable. I don't believe it. A tense silence falls between them as Zuo Fan's words hang in the air. Outside, someone whispers, he came out. The young man approached the gates with steady steps, his black coat billowing behind him. His sharp eyes darted to the guard stationed ahead, who sneered the moment he came into view. Oi, that traitor's son, the guard called out mockingly. The words cut deep, but the young man's expression didn't falter. He had grown used to the label, though it didn't make it hurt any less. The guard's voice turned smug. The visit fee went up. What? The young man asked, his brows furrowing. It's now 3 times more. Not just 3 times as much, the guard clarified, waving his hand dismissively. 3 times. The young man's voice rose in shock. That's over 1,000. The guard shrugged nonchalantly. That was the higher-ups' decision. We're already being lenient by allowing you to visit at all. Why did it rise that much? The young man demanded, anger creeping into his voice. The guard's expression darkened. After all, your father committed treason. You're lucky you're not banned entirely. The words hung in the air, heavy and bitter. But the young man refused to believe them. My father, a traitor. He muttered to himself, fists clenched tightly. His mind raced with memories of his father, someone who had risked his life countless times, someone who had made unparalleled contributions to the country. How can he be a traitor? He whispered fiercely, more to himself than anyone else. His resolve hardened as he turned away from the gate, deep in thought. I will find out the truth, he vowed silently. But the weight of his situation pressed on him. Just the $450 visit fee every month already pushed me to my limit, he thought, frustration lacing his inner monologue. And now it's 3 times more. He walked into the fading light of the day, his shadow stretching long behind him. Though the path ahead seemed more daunting than ever, his determination remained unshaken. After becoming a Starfall Warrior Reserve, I risked my life working for the Mercenary Guild over the past few years, all for a meager income. Life as a reserve was grueling, but I didn't have the luxury of giving up, not when I had unfinished business. An ordinary, healthy individual would score an average of 1 across all categories. Meanwhile, an official Starfall Warrior would boast stats of at least 10 in every field. My stats, however, were a mixed bag. Mind, 11. Physique, 8. Strength, 8. Agility, 16. While my mind and agility had surpassed the threshold, granting me faster re-times and enhanced speed. My physique and strength remained stagnant. Despite half a year of rigorous effort, those stats hadn't budged. If I wanted to clear my father's name, I couldn't afford to stop investigating. Every coin I earned from mercenary work, after covering my living expenses, amounted to a mere 450. It wasn't enough. Not for what I needed to do. I glanced at the necklace around my neck, a keepsake from my mother. She had gifted it to me on my birthday, a delicate chain adorned with fragments of a meteorite from the night of the starfall. Rumor had it that the necklace was worth a fortune. Its value wasn't just monetary, it carried memories, questions, and secrets my father had never shared. I clenched my fist, torn by the weight of my decisions. 3 times. I muttered to myself. What do I do? The only object of value I owned was this necklace. I gazed at it, its faint glow seeming to mirror the uncertainty within me. If selling it meant uncovering the truth and vindicating my father, could I bring myself to let it go? Or would I hold on to it, a fragile connection to a past shrouded in mystery? I stared at the necklace in my hand, its faint glow reflecting the turmoil in my mind. Maybe I should sell it, I thought to myself, gripping it tightly. But almost immediately, I shook my head. What am I thinking? I couldn't part with it, not yet. If I wanted to make real progress, I needed to find a way to earn more money. I'll have to go find some higher rank missions in the mercenary guild, I resolved, slipping the necklace back under my shirt. The City Z mercenary hall bustled with noise as I stepped inside. It was the same as always, a mix of mockery and judgment. Awakened for 3 years and still the weakest Starfall warrior reserve, one voice jeered. That's what you get for betraying your country, another chimed in. I clenched my fists but kept walking, ignoring their stares. The garbage is here again, someone muttered, their words echoing behind me. Looks like they haven't changed a bit, I thought, steeling myself. Their scorn had become as familiar as the air I breathed. No matter how far I went or what I did, this was my reality, at least for now. The people here are still this noisy, I muttered under my breath, weaving through the crowd. Uncle Fatty, I called out as I reached the counter. The man behind it turned, his round face breaking into a grin. TCH, how many times do I have to tell you to call me Uncle Gao? He scolded, though there was no real anger in his voice. You wanna get kicked out of the mercenary guild, brat? I smirked, scratching the back of my head. Can you look for some suitable E-rank missions for me? Despite his grumbling, I knew Uncle Gao, well, not my real uncle, would help. He always did, no matter how much he complained. An E-rank mission, Uncle Gao said, his voice laced with disapproval. With your current strength, going to an E-rank monster den is basically suicide. I sighed but stayed silent, knowing what was coming next. He leaned forward, his expression serious. Even in F-rank monster dens, you'd need to be an official Starfall warrior just to protect yourself. And yet, here you are, lucky to have survived this long as cannon fodder in those same dens. I know, Uncle Gao, I admitted, my voice quiet but firm. But I don't have a choice. He shook his head, exhaling heavily. You're just a Starfall warrior reserve. There's no way you can survive an E-rank monster den. Still, after a moment of thought, Uncle Gao rummaged through some papers on his desk. I do have an E-rank commission post here, he said finally. It pays pretty well, and the party is recruiting a scout. My heart skipped a beat. He slid the paper toward me, and I quickly scanned it. It's an E-rank monster den clearing mission, he added. It'll be very dangerous. My eyes locked on the details of the reward. $3,000. I whispered in disbelief, staring at the number as if it might vanish. I turned to Uncle Gao, overcome with gratitude. Uncle Gao, I love you. I exclaimed, my voice full of emotion. He just rolled his eyes. Yeah, he muttered, a small smile tugging at his lips. This party is rather unordinary, Uncle Gao warned, puffing on his cigar. Keep your eyes open. I nodded. Okay, I replied, steeling myself for what was to come. The sun dipped lower on the horizon as I made my way to the meeting point at Ada Plaza. My boots echoed against the pavement as I adjusted the straps of my gear. I couldn't afford to mess this up, not with so much riding on it. For E-rank den clearing missions, every party member was usually a Starfall warrior at the novice rank or higher. This time was no different. I just need to do a good job scouting, I thought to myself, gripping my bow tightly. And I'll get paid handsomely. Looking around the plaza, I spotted the group assembling. They looked experienced, exactly the kind of team that could carry someone like me. Looks like I'll be carried this time, I muttered under my breath, feeling a mix of relief and unease. One of the members stepped forward, a woman with sharp eyes and an air of authority. Her voice was firm as she introduced herself. I am the leader of this combat party, Mu Yinyu, she said, her gaze assessing me. So, you're the scout Uncle Gao recommended. I nodded quickly, trying to hide the nervous flutter in my chest. That's me, I replied, keeping my tone steady. This was it, my chance to prove myself. As the combat party assembled before me, my eyes were drawn to the leader, Mu Yinyu. She exuded confidence, her every movement radiating strength and precision. Her weapon glinted in the light, and her equipment was pristine and well crafted, a testament to her skill and experience. Looking at her weapon and equipment, I thought, my heart pounding, this young lady is an intermediate rank Starfall warrior. A mix of awe and intimidation filled me. This was someone far beyond my level, a true warrior who had earned her place in this dangerous world. Could I really keep up with someone like her? My doubts lingered as the group began to prepare for the mission ahead. Whatever happened next, I knew this would be a defining moment for me. My eyes widened as I noticed something extraordinary about Mu Yinyu. She possessed the elusive Starfall equipment. Monster Core. I thought in disbelief. She actually has Starfall equipment. If I recall correctly, only intermediate rank Starfall warriors are qualified to use such gear. The mere mention of a Monster Core sent shivers down my spine. These rare artifacts were the stuff of legends. Among thousands of monsters, only one would yield a Monster Core. Its value was beyond imagination, a treasure that most could only dream of. The Starfall equipment crafted from such cores was equally remarkable. These items could significantly amplify the strength of a Starfall warrior, turning them into formidable forces on the battlefield. As I took this all in, my respect for Mu Yinyu only deepened. She wasn't just a leader, she was a warrior who had reached heights I could only aspire to. The stats of an intermediate rank Starfall warrior were nothing short of astounding. Mind, 40 plus, physique, 40 plus, strength, 40 plus, and agility, 40 plus. These were levels I could only dream of achieving. As I observed Mu Yinyu, I realized she looked about my age. She's under 20, I marveled. Intermediate rank Starfall warriors under 20 were widely regarded as prodigies, and the gap between us felt insurmountable. The difference between us is too great, I thought, a pang of frustration gnawing at me. I don't know how long it'll take me to reach her level. Gathering my thoughts, I stepped forward. I'm the mercenary Uncle Gao recommended, I introduced myself. My name is Zuo. Mu Yinyu extended her hand with a calm expression. Pleased to meet you, Zuo fan, she replied, her voice steady. I hesitated for a moment, then added with a nervous chuckle, I hope you don't think of my dad, Zuo Wei, or it might be troublesome. Her eyes briefly narrowed as if considering the implications, but she said nothing further. The introduction was complete, and I was now part of this remarkable team, though the journey ahead promised to be anything but easy. A sharp sting coursed through my arm. It hurts. I winced, pulling back instinctively. The culprit, a grinning young man with pink hair, stood over me. His voice was dripping with mockery. So, you're the cannon fodder the mercenary guild recommended. Cannon fodder. I echoed, my tone laced with disbelief and anger. Before I could react further, Mu Jie's authoritative voice cut through the tension. Enough, she commanded, her words stopping the pink-haired man in his tracks. He chuckled awkwardly, throwing up his hands in mock surrender. Ha ha ha, I'm just joking around. Little brother, don't mind me. I clenched my fists, swallowing my pride as I noticed Mu Jie's disapproving glare. Bullying a Starfall warrior on reserve duty, don't you think that's embarrassing? She scolded, her tone icy. The pink-haired man's grin faltered slightly. Oh, right, he said, waving it off as though it were a minor misunderstanding. I said nothing, though my thoughts churned. This was my first day among the mercenaries, and it was already shaping up to be a challenge far beyond my expectations. This is your contract. Take a look at it, and if you don't have any questions, just sign it. I reached out for the contract, but a sudden blur streaked toward me. My instincts kicked in, and I dodged swiftly, my hand moving up to intercept whatever was coming my way. Thwack. The sound reverberated as I deflected the object. My heart raced. What? From the sidelines, a voice muttered, impressed. Such fast re-speed. Another voice chimed in, he's fit to be a scout. I exhaled sharply, trying to calm myself. The pink-haired woman was watching me closely, her expression unreadable. His alertness is pretty good, she commented. My mind raced as I pieced together what had just happened. What a close call. So this is the strength of a novice-rank Starfall warrior. The test had been quick but revealing. As a novice-rank Starfall warrior, I had the ability to temporarily reinforce objects with power, making them as hard as steel. That quick demonstration had been their way of testing me, or maybe just sizing me up. Clenching my jaw, I signed the contract, ready for whatever came next. Let's go. With those words, the team moved forward, entering the E-rank monster den area. Monster dens, gathering places of terrifying creatures. These mutated monsters roamed freely in the restricted areas, territories outside the safety of human civilization. Ever since the world underwent its immense transformation, humanity had been forced to retreat, leaving vast regions under the dominion of these beasts. Hot weapons, once the pinnacle of warfare, were now practically useless against the monsters. Bullets ricocheted harmlessly off their mutated hides, and poison gas only seemed to fuel their evolution. Some monsters even absorbed these attacks, mutating into even deadlier forms. To combat this, humanity had turned to weapons crafted from the monsters themselves. Blades, spears, and shields forged from monster parts proved far more effective in injuring and killing these beasts. As a result, cold weapons had regained popularity, becoming indispensable tools for warriors. But these weapons served another purpose beyond battle. High-level monster materials were extraordinarily valuable, making them a symbol of both wealth and power for the elite Starfall warriors. Standing at the precipice of danger, the group prepared themselves. They knew what lay ahead. For them, this wasn't just a battle, it was survival in a world where the strong thrived and the weak perished. City X, E-rank monster den. What was once a bustling downtown area had transformed into a monster-infested, perilous wasteland. The eerie sounds carried by the river weren't from the wind, they came from them. A glint of scales broke through the murky waters, and there they were, the fish lizards. E-rank monsters, mutated amphibians with armor-like scales as hard as steel. Their razor-sharp fangs could pierce through even the toughest metal. He stood firm, his gaze unwavering as one of them lunged forward. With a flash of energy, his weapon carved through the air, meeting the beast with a brilliant, decisive strike. A blade flashed through the air, its arc glowing with energy as it aimed straight for the monstrous figure ahead. Clang! The weapon struck true, but instead of piercing flesh, it bounced off the creature's hardened scales with a deafening sound. It bounced off. The realization hit hard. This wasn't just any ordinary monster, its defenses were far beyond what they had anticipated. A guttural roar erupted from the beast, its gaping maw revealing rows of razor-sharp teeth. Fury burned in its glowing eyes as it charged forward, its massive frame radiating an aura of menace. The ground shook with its every step, the air thick with tension. The team braced themselves, knowing they were facing an opponent unlike any other. This was no longer a simple skirmish. It was a battle for survival against a creature determined to annihilate them. The plan was simple, yet risky. The bait had been set, and now the results were clear. Monster baiting successful. From the shadows, the monstrous figures emerged, their primal growls echoing through the air. They charged forward, drawn to the lure, their speed and aggression undeniable. But something was wrong. How come the speed of these E-rank monsters is so much faster than what the intel said? Sweat dripped down his face as the realization hit. The intel was flawed, and now they were in far more danger than anticipated. The ground trembled beneath the horde's relentless advance, each second narrowing the gap between hunter and prey. This wasn't part of the plan. Don't miss out. Hit like and subscribe to catch the next part and discover more exciting manga updates.